My cope brothers and sisters, Tearlaments. Now, I know we've gotten hit a lot, and still I will forever cope on this deck. I find it the most fun deck, really. How can we still make Tearlaments work in Master Duel right now? I think this is the way. So it's Tier, Punk, Danger. What are my reasons? First of all, we are playing quite some cards that are gonna benefit from going out of our hand. You know, it's typical Tearlament stuff, but it's also Aquas, and we really need Aquas right now to make Kit Kalos and then to go second with Kaleido Heart. And while Gamma Seal is great right now, it is definitely, you know, useful to go into the Kashtira Arise Heart, to go into the Pearly Noir if people still try to do that, though I've been noticing that they've been kind of falling off lately. We just need some more Aquas, and Nessie is definitely gonna make that happen. Also, whenever we resolve our Chaos Ruler, being able to mill a couple more Aquas so that any name being hit of it is still gonna make Kit Kalos without using our hand is really, really solid. So yeah, that's why we have the Dangers, and then the Punks, of course. Punks are insane in this game still because we have both Chaos Ruler and Zombie Vampire. So any Punk play going uninterrupted is 9 mills and 1 add back to hand, which is a lot. So we have Danger Jackalope here. This is a Danger that doesn't minus like crazy. Like, I know Mothman, of course, is better for rank 4s, but I just really like the fact that if you open Nessie and then Nessie hits itself, and then you get Jackalope and Jackalope hits itself, you get the final Nessie, which puts a 7 on your board. And 7s on our board are actually insane because every other card is basically a 4, like except for the Punk Engine, which means the Strudo with a 4 and the 7 becomes a 3, and then you have a Baron play. To me, level 7 and level 4 is basically like Tearlament's forte, and we want to maximize on that to then be able to make the Baron. So no Chukinoko, even though I really like that card. There is like potential for you to go through Curious. Like if you play a bigger Danger package, maybe play Curious, but for the life of me, I cannot even imagine what I'm sending of Curious. Like if I could send Kelbeck or Agido, Curious would be crazy. And yeah, you can send like Fairy Tale Snow. I don't know. It just doesn't feel that good to go through Curious right now. That's the same reason why I'm not on like Mali Beatrice type stuff. I would much rather mill a billion with Chaos Ruler and Zombie Vampire and gradually hit all my cards rather than going through one and, you know, hitting like just Snow. Because Snow without fodder also isn't that good. And without Kelbeck and Agido, we're not actually filling our graveyard reliably enough to give Snow that fodder. So now we have the Punks. This is basically like the best starter in the deck, Xiamin, and so of course Teleport. Xiamin gets Foxy Tune, and Foxy Tune sends a card from your hand for effect, which means it can trigger your Shaddolls. Yeah, we are playing some Shaddolls. You're just always feeling great. I don't know. Then you get your Deer Note. Deer Note plus Xiamin makes Chaos Ruler. Chaos Ruler does its mills and its add. We are playing enough Darks to make that worth it. This is also why the Dangers are extra good in this deck. And then Deer Note brings back the Foxy Tune. Foxy Tune and Chaos Ruler overlay into Zombie Vampire, and then we're basically off to the races. That's 4 more mills, another special summon, and so forth. And this is how we are generally going to be able to put up like Baron, Rule Kolos, Redoer, maybe something else pretty reliably. Then we have Hofnis at 1 because we can only play 1. We have Skomada because without Kelbeck and Agido, the only really big mill payoff really is Tearlament's cards themselves and then Shaddolls. Everything else just feels kind of mid-ish to mill except for, yeah, Snow, duh. So Skomada is just a great way to do that. You can also, again, because Foxy Tune sends for effect, we really want to get some value out of that. So Skomada can either send Beast for a draw or Hollow for some extra milling. Fairy Tale Snow, of course, a crazy card. I wish we had it in the TCG. Card is so broken. Then 2 Sharon, the best Tearlament starter. We have triple Rhino Heart because it is both a great mill and a great normal summon, and insane to find off Zombie Vampire. Like sometimes you'll just be milling, make your Zombie Vampire, and then Rhino Heart is like, whoop, here I am. And then, you know, then you have your free Kit Kalos and go from there. Then we have the 2 Shufflers. This is really good into both Pearly and Lab. Maybe a bit less good into if Kashtira keeps on getting better or if Vanquish Soul with their Shifter gets better. But I mean, if we get Shiftered, we lose anyway. So like, we might as well get the value here. Also, we are milling so much that we are sometimes just shuffling our own value back, which is something I've noticed I do more in this game than in TCG. Then Shadoll Beast. Again, we can send it off Skomata or just hard mill it. Deer Note, which is the brick for Punk. Then 2 Destrudo. Yeah, 2. I'm a bit down bad, I have to agree, because the deck is a bit weaker in Master Duel than in TCG, because we only have like 2 names resolving anymore and a lot of good cards at 1 and 2 and so forth. I really reliably want to be able to put Baron on my board, and the way to do that reliably really is the Destrudo. So for that reason, we have Trudeau right here. Then we have the 2 Nessie. Like I said before, it's an Aqua. It's a level 7. Thank God we still have Fenrir. In this deck, Fenrir is going to be a board breaker, but it's also going to be a way to get to our engine because it gets Tearlament Kashtira. Generally, I want to keep Tearlament Kashtira in my hand as follow-up while my opponent tries to break the board, but sometimes we we also just have to use it. Tier Cash in our hand, then we make a Kid Kolos, then Kid Kolos searching Sulik allows us to then special summon Tier Cash with the Kid Kolos for a mill 8, kind of like we did with Merly back in the day, and that should give us pretty decent odds to then make our Rule Kolos. Then we have Gamma Seal. This is of course to get rid of like Noir, Kashtira Arise Hard, any big threat in general. It's like non-engine that's also Aqua, and we really need the Aquas. Then we have Foxy Toon, of course part of the Punk engine. We have one Hollow. This is like really awful to draw, but at least we have our Shayrans and our Foxy to send it for effect, and that way start milling even more. This is like Diet Kelbeck. Then we have one Goods. So Goods is basically gonna send Trivic Karma, which is a new card we actually just got in the last pack. Maybe when you saw me opening the pack and giving my thoughts on it, notice I was like, oh, we got Trivic Karma, sick. So now we actually have way more Perla Rhino access than we did before, so the pack really helped us here, and so that also makes Goods a way better inclusion. Whenever you draw Goods now, you're like, oh shit, we have a Perla Rhino. So now we're really playing 2 Perla Rhino instead of 1, like a terraforming really. That then also, if we already drew Perla Rhino, can let us get anything else. You know, Trivic Karma can search Sulik, Meta Noise, Scream, Grief. And if we don't draw Goods, it's possible we mill Trivic Karma in our other billion mills and still get to Perla Rhino that way. So very, very solid inclusion Goods right here. Then one Tactics. This could also be a called buy. I think even at one point I cut the Tactics for called buy during the Duelist Cup stuff. So that might be an option. But I mean, drawing your one off to deal with Max C, good luck. If you're not that afraid of Pearly anymore, I definitely think you should cut the Gamma Seal and the Tactics for the call buy. Just a little tidbit of information for people who are actually listening rather than just looking at the list and blindly copying. So I actually think that is better, and I did do that for the Duelist Cup. So 1 Gamma Seal, 1 Tactics for 2 called buy, because as you notice, we're not playing Ash. Tearlaments just cannot afford to do so, which is also why it's much weaker now. Without a big tier engine, you know, our hands and mills really need to be top tier at all times, and we just don't have the good starters for that, so we can't afford to play Ash, so we're constantly getting fucked by Maxi, and those 2 call buys are like the closest thing you have to still being able to play under Maxi, as in, you know, negating it. Then we have Grief. I really like Grief because it is a extender, it is a starter, and it can also be a good mill. Whenever you have Tier Cash in hand, being able to banish your traps to then when you mill Grief, add them to hand has been really, really solid. Of course, in the TCG, it's a bit better because we have far more Tier Cash and Fenrir to do that reliably, but still, I really like Grief. It's good going first and going second. Basically, you want to have as many good mills and good draws as possible, and all the Tearlaments cards are both, so you want to max out on them. Sadly, Heartbeat is dog shit going first, so for that reason, I'm not playing that. Then we have Perla Rhino. Of course, this is so crazy. And then we have Raid Salt. This is just another copy of Fenrir or another copy of Tier Cash if you're already holding the Fenrir. More copies of Fenrir is very important. I at one point played a Highlander Tearlament deck in a TCG just for funsies because I wanted to figure out which cards are actually making the board. You know, think about it. If you put every single Tearlaments card to 1, which is almost already the case, and every good mill to 1, every card to 1, which cards, when milled or drawn, actually ensured tier board was being established and which didn't? And the answer very consistently, Perla Rhino, Fenrir, by extension Tier Cash, and Scream. So I want to max out my odds of drawing cards like that, and basically Raid Salt is another Fenrir. So for that reason, we're playing it. Then we have Triple Scream, because if we get hand trapped at least, we often are going to be building part of our board in our opponent's turn, and being able to just have Scream on board as a, oh, here's 3 more mills, odds of me actually playing on your turn go up tremendously. Then we have 2 Teleport, of course, for our Punk engine. We have 1 Meta Noise, a very good mill, Trivic Karma, a crazy new buff to the deck, and Sulik. Now for the extra deck, we have 1 Winda. I think this card is kind of fake, because in general, we're not really going into it that much. Like, our end boards are already FTKs, but with that being said, if we can fuse into something in our opponent's turn, that is still going to be like a very useful card to do so. Then we have Kid Kolos. I mean, it's Kid Kolos. We have Stapelia, which is, you know, recycling our fusions, really. Notice there's no Mud Dragon, and that's because what are you making with it? You know, we don't have Bahamut Shark into Toad in this game, and so while it's part of our gameplay loop, I feel Tearlaments right now doesn't have much of a gameplay loop anymore because so much stuff got hit. So, like, I think the loop of Kid Kolos, Rule Kolos, and Kaleido Heart is strong enough that we don't need the Mud Dragon into Stapelia stuff often enough to be worth it. That said, if you find it worth it, you can cut Winda for the Mud Dragon. Then we have Rule Kolos, of course. 90% of my boards with this deck are going to be Kit into Rule. And we have Kaleido Heart, of course, great for going second. Then we have Chaos Ruler. This card is bonkers. And whenever you open Punk Engine with Fenrir, you can actually forego Zombie Vampire and just make an early Baron as well. So you can go like Special Summon Fenrir, activate Teleport, get Zeamin, get Foxy Toon. You do it in this order to not get trolled. Then Fenrir adds Tear Cache. Then Foxy Toon uses effect, discard something, get Deer Note out. Then Xiamen plus Deer Note goes into Chaos Ruler, do that mill stuff, and then rather than using Deer Note to revive Foxy Toon to make Zombie Vampire, your Deer Note is going to revive Xiamen, because then the Xiamen with a Fenrir is going to make a Baron. And then before you do any other plays, now you already have the Baron as a protection. Now that being said, of course, it's possible they would waste their hand traps earlier, in which case you can still just go Zombie Vampire, but this is just one way you don't get blown out by Bestials, because a lot of people are on Dragon Link right now. Now, of course, if you're resolving important stuff under Chaos Ruler, that's too bad. Then you're still, you know, the Bestial is gonna hurt. But this is just one way you can insulate yourself a little bit. Then we have the Baron, like I said before. I mean, we make this very consistently. So many level 4s and so many level 7s. Like, the Nessies are really helping making the Baron. Because also, you don't really like giving up your Fenrir. Like, Fenrir is an end board piece. So whenever you can put up a Nessie instead, you're like, cool, my Fenrir can stay. I can get rid of this dumbass Nessie and I can still have my Baron. Then we have Redoer. This is very often going to be on the board because, as you notice, we are often going to play like minimal tier. Like, it'll be Tearlaments place with maybe one more piece like a Baron or something if we get hand trap. And that's when really Redoer into Kaleido Heart is going to be like one of our stronger interrupts. Then we have Big Eye. I know a lot of people are not playing Big Eye in tier, which I think is like awful. I think this card is crazy in this deck if you have the extra deck space. So like in TCG, I'm not playing it purely because of space, but as more and more cards would get hit, I would definitely recommend playing this as long as Fenrir is like at high copies, because Fenrir and Tear Cache, or Nessie and Fenrir and Tear Cache and Nessie and so forth, all make this. And being able to go like Big Eye, steal something from the opponent after your Fenrir already baited something probably, then that Big Eye plus that card go into Dark, then Dark steals something from the opponent, then Dark plus that card go into Selene, Selene bring back the Big Eye. I did that yesterday on stream. People were like, what? Big Eye is a spellcaster? Yup, it's a spellcaster. And then go into access code that way. It is crazy. Also, we have Chaos Ruler, so like Punk, Chaos Ruler type lines with access code make OTK every fucking time. For that reason, Big Eye is crazy. Then Zombie Vampire, you can make it with Punks. Punks are basically Horus cards that are in Dark, and they're also better because Hoxie sends for effect and you don't want to die whenever you get ashed. Then we have IP. So IP is going to be part of the end board because we often have some dead bodies thanks to Zombie Vampire. Like, you have Zombie Vampire itself and then whatever card it revived, which is often dog shit, and maybe if you resolve like a danger or something like that. So we usually have some dead bodies. It's going to become an IP, and then the IP is going to go into Unicorn. That's not that powerful of an interrupt, but it's still an interrupt. We still have some free bodies that at least do something. Then we have the Dark, of course, just part of our link plays. We don't want to die to D-Barrier either. We have Unicorn, which is, again, like I said, part of the IP plane, but sometimes you also just use it to break boards going second. And then the Selene access code line that I just outlined with Big Eye, Dark, and so forth. And we actually, beyond Big Eye, have some other spellcasters as well, because Shaddoll Beast is spellcaster, Squamata is spellcaster, and Fairy Tail Snow is also spellcaster. So we have enough spellcasters to do Selene plays, and we mill so much that we have enough spells as well. This is it. This is how I play Tearlaments right now. I think it's really solid. I hope you found this useful. And how about we do a quick test hand as well? Okay, so this hand is fucking crazy. I mean, I don't even draw Punk cards, so we are gonna send the Trivic Karma. Basically, you send Trivic Karma first to play around Droll, because like you're gonna do Perler Rhino here, and then on the ad of Perler Rhino, if they then Droll you, you can chain Trivic Karma. So right here, I think we're gonna go for Sharon, and then if they now Droll you, chain Trivic Karma. But instead, I'm gonna now use Trivic Karma just regularly. I'm gonna add Scream because I do want to mill some more, because we didn't open the Punks, we won't be able to mill quite as much as usual, and so, you know, we gotta get our mills going here. So now Fenrir is going to add Tear Cache, and we're going to activate the Scream. Of course, normally you just do like Rhino Heart and play on itself Rhino Heart, but I really like the fact that we have so much gas, so I want to get a little greedy and just use Sharon here. So we're going to Sharon, we're going to put it here, we're going to send away Jackalope, and we're going to mill 3, that did nothing. Then we're going to Scream, hit a name, nope, still not. I mean, technically we could use this Rhino Heart, but I'm not gonna. I'm just going to normal summon Rhino Heart, and I use his effect. Then Rhino Heart is going to send a Halfness from deck to play around Nibiru a little bit, because then the Sharon would still trigger if you get nipped there. Then the Halfness is gonna make Kitkalos. We're gonna Halfness. Plus, I mean, we want Nessie in our deck really, because it's just a better draw than a Gamma Seal in general. Then we're going to make our kit. Now, in this case, I really want to get the Sulik. I really want to get Sulik. So we're going to get Sulik here. Yup. We add it to our hand. And then we're going to activate Kitkalos right here, killing herself. We're going to get back. I want to get the Rhino because I want to keep Tear Cash in my hand for follow-up. You know, even if you get like Lava Golemed into Oblivion somehow, then you'll be able to Tear Cash and then Scream, and that's going to be a mill 6. So let's see what we hit there. Okay, we hit pretty well. So we're going to go Scream, and we're also going to go Squamata. So we didn't hit the correct name, so with Squamata, I'm going to send Hollow. Even though like a draw would be super fun, you know, just the fact that we get a mill 3 that might then hit the last name, that's really nice. And then Scream is going to get our Meta Noise. Okay, and now we're going to use Hollow to mill 3. Let's see what we hit. We hit nothing. I mean, we can use Rhino Heart, but I don't want to use Rhino Heart. Rhino Heart could give us follow-up, but I just don't want to. So while usually here, I could maybe like, if I was very afraid, just make Redoer and Heart make Kaleido. I already got all my traps set up. So instead, I'm just going to make a Redoer out of my Sharon and my Rhino Heart. You know, just a simple Redoer right here. I didn't mill this Trudeau, I think, right? That would have been crazy if I did, but I didn't. So that's whenever you don't get Punk access. And then I'm going to set my Solic and set my Meta Noise. So right here, this board is very like lean, but this is typical for tier when you don't open Punk or Milagito Kelbeck type of stuff. You just make like a simple board with a bunch of follow-up. Because right now in our opponent's turn, we can mill 6 just from Scream and Tear Cash. We have a Book of Moon. We have a Imperm type thing, you know, Sulik. We have Pop with Perler Rhino. We have Redoer going into Kaleido Heart to make a shuffle. We have a Banish face down. And out of those 6 mills, more stuff is going to happen. Don't forget this book is going to send a name that's then going to make Rule Kolos out of the Kit Kolos. So we also have a special summon negate. And then after using that Rule Kolos, when we do Kaleido Heart stuff with Redoer, and then we Sulik the Kaleido Heart into our graveyard to then send the last name, that last name can then fuse with the Rule Kolos and itself into Stapelia, which is another monster negate. So while when you look at this board, it doesn't look like a crazy FTK, it's still going to be like, I don't know, let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 interrupts at least. It's at least 8 interrupts. So no one's gonna play through that. They have 5 cards in their hand. So again, minimal board, but still 8 interrupts. GG, we won. So that is all. Hope you found this interesting. Again, when we open Punk, we make a typical FTK style board with Baron and all of that crazy stuff. And when we don't, we make a board like this. So like, this is still solid going first. The issue is really just when we get Max Seed, we can't play Ash and Cross Out and so forth for it. But again, like I said earlier, you can cut 1 Gamma Seal and 1 Tactics for 2 Call By to kind of mitigate that. Hope you found this interesting. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you soon. Ciao.